You forget that every time.
I know. It was the right one. I was talking to you, and I realized I'm only hearing out of one ear.
Here we are again, lucky or not.
We made it.
We made it. Hey, this is Frisky Biscuit. I'm Dr. G with my cohort.
I'm Lisa.
And we're here to give you information that you didn't even know existed. Frisky Biscuit is all about, what's our mission statement, Lisa? What's that say
It is
there?
sharing engaging information for those of you that drive on the road.
I can't even
And
see
we
it.
thank you for your comments lately and your emails.
Totally.
It's been great.
Totally.
Yeah.
Growing itsy bitsy at a time. Comments are always welcome. And, whatever. Just let us know what you're thinking. And we're here for you. And we got some information this week that Lisa's searched out that's kind of cool.
I got some cool stuff today. First, we're going to talk about how campgrounds are changing
No
in
kidding.
a good way. I mean, it's really cool. I read this cool article. And then we got somebody that asked us about the benefits of the different types of RVs. So we're going to go through each of those of our experience and what we've talked to people about. And it's fall. We're going to go into winter. We haven't winterized our rig yet, and we're going to do it ourselves this year. So we're going to talk about that and how to travel in the winter.
We're being judged right now. I can just feel it. Like they have that RV and they talk about this stuff and they haven't even winterized their own damned RV yet.
You know, last year we had somebody winterize it and they messed it up. I mean, this was a professional company.
They actually left the water filters in there and then run antifreeze through it. So
we're like,
God, we couldn't figure out why our water tasted like crap. And then we discovered, like, man.
Hey, this last week, I changed the oil the generator. It's so easy.
No.
So if we can do that, we can learn to winterize, and so can you. So we're going to go through some steps of some of the mistakes people have made. You know, each rig is different, so we're not going to go through our rig, but we're going to go through the mistakes. So I thought that was something we could share today.
It's really important, and we're really seeing it. We heard that, as we got this rig a couple of years ago, that it's really important that you know how to fix your own RV. And we thought, we're not going to do that, and we just want to play with it. But the point of it is, I can see the value of that now, and so we are, and I'm mechanically inclined, and Lisa is becoming more so, and she's actually a tire expert. You do pretty good with those tires and checking the pressure and filling them. She's on that.
Yeah.
So.
And now I'm a generator.
She's a generator
oil,
tech.
Mechanical.
She's a Cummins owning diesel generator tech.
Well, since we're talking about this, why don't we start with that? Why don't we start with some of the winterizing mistakes, since we're on the subject already?
That's a good one.
It costs between $70 and $200, and I suspect with a Class A, it may even cost a little more because it's a little harder to get into, to actually winterize your rig. And you've got to winterize before you store, if you're going to store it, or even use it during the winter. So these are some of the mistakes that I found. And again, we haven't done it yet, so this is just talk. We'll talk about it again after we've done it.
The biggest terrifying one is on the list for me, and I don't know where it is on your list, but it is the water heater. If you run antifreeze through your water heater, you're going to ruin it.
Yeah.
And like our system has the brand new Truma Aqua Go instant water heating system that circulates, so it's there on tap anytime you want it. But boy, you run antifreeze through that and you ruin it. And that thing's an expensive machine to replace. So that's one of the reasons I haven't wanted to do it myself. Mm-hmm. But after they put antifreeze through our filters, I thought, oh my gosh, that's just one more step to screw the water heater up. So we're going to do it ourselves from now on.
Yeah. And, there's two people in our industry that have our same exact rig that have done videos. And also the company, Leisure Travel Van, has a video. So I feel like we're in really good straits to do it ourselves. And the first one on the list was not closing off the low point drains. This ensures that you're completely closed before of the water, like you're draining out all the water and you're closing those drains before you put the antifreeze in, because what's going to happen? It's going to go all over the place.
Well, and you're going to end up with water down there in those low points. Mm-hmm. And in most RVs like ours, the lowest point is the outside shower. Mm-hmm. And it's like sits the lowest point in the RV. So if you don't drain that and then it freezes, you're probably going to break those pipes and have a mess. So
that was one of the things on here, somewhere along here, was the shower, is not to forget it, because every time you hook up to city water, that outdoor shower the water goes through that. So
Yeah.
it's draining that, and a lot of people do forget that. Okay, the second one is what you were just talking about, is skipping the important steps with your water heater, bypassing and completely draining your water prior to adding the antifreeze to your system. And if you have an electric water heater, it's turning off the switch, right, before you do the task.
What possibly could go wrong there?
And it said on here, too, it's important not to forget the drain plugs or the anode rod if these are features that are part of your unit. So that's something to think about as well. And, you know, if you can find a video of somebody that has your exact rig, that's the best way. That's what we're finding. And we'll let you know afterwards, too. Like I said, we haven't done this yet. We will be, though, in the next, couple weeks?
Yeah, there's a lot of videos. Brandon of, what's the name of his channel? Pagosa Adventures, Pagosa Adventures. He was on with us. He's a good guy, and he does a lot of stuff. It's focused at leisure travel vans, and now he also has an Airstream, but he does a lot of really good how-to videos. And then your manufacturer probably has a how-to video how to winterize. But also, there's just every one of these RVs is kind of the same the way you winterize it. I find as I study through it, you're kind of doing the same thing on all of them, and the sequence is pretty much the same. You just want to push the water out to the lowest point and then make sure you got antifreeze in that low point. So it's just being methodical about it and paying attention and not getting in a hurry and distracted.
And keeping mind on the weather, I think, is a good thing, because every region is different and every year is different. This time last year, it was already pretty cold.
It was.
And this year, it's not. It's fairly warm still.
There's also, I find, with me, kind of a resistance to even to winterize it, because we want to go one more time. In fact, we were watching Mark and Trish on Keep Your Daydream yesterday, and in one of the last comments, she says, don't winterize yet, go one more time. And that's kind of the way we feel.
And, you know, if it is getting a little bit chilly in your area and you do not want to winterize, you can plug in like we did last year and just keep things running in the evening hours when it's really cold and the early morning hours. And that will work for you before you decide. So you don't want to wait too long. You know, if it's getting to be 32 degrees and continues, that's going to be a problem for you. The other one is not draining or flushing out your water lines. You know, you're going to have a compressor generally that you're going to put in to air out your lines, and they want you to double check and triple check to make sure that you're not forgetting any of the lines, like your ice maker, or if you have a washer and dryer.
Showers.
Right? In your shower, yeah. And also not dialing down the air. They say 100 PSI is max. They say the city lines usually have 40 to 50, but it's the volume of air. It's not the pressure of air.
Just keep it, I'd say, 30, 40 at the max on your air pressure as you blow your lines out, because that air, it's almost more lethal than water. Pushing through those lines.
Yeah, I suppose you could blow your lines
It's
up,
explosive. You can blow your lines. Then that could get real expensive, replumbing your RV, just because of too much air pressure.
Yeah, they say 30% of RVs are always in the shop at this current point, so you don't want to be one of those 30%.
You want to be that guy. We're making payments on what we've never seen it. It's like a redheaded stepchild.
That's right. Hey, redheaded. I was a redhead.
She is by the way, Lisa is a redhead, for those of you. So that's why she acts like she does.
That's right.
She's a stealth redhead.
Yep. I'm an undercover redhead.
Undercover redhead.
All right, moving on. Not removing your batteries. A dead battery consists mostly of water, which will freeze and cause broken connections, bent plates, and really shorten your battery's lifespan. So remove your batteries, store them in a temperature-controlled area, or you can put a battery charger on it, a battery warmer.
A little trickle charger.
Yeah, we've done that on one of our cars. Here's forgetting the outdoor shower. Out of sight, out of mind. So that's something to definitely put on your to-do checklist on that one. This is a good one. I did this last year. Is I left a few items in the cabinets that could freeze. Luckily, I found them. We always have water in there, so it's remembering for me to take those jugs of water out, to take the pickles out, or things that aren't not necessarily in the refrigerator, but are in the cabinets that have a water consistency to them. So remember to take those out.
You got out the Mountain Dew, didn't you?
Not yet. I will, though.
Gotta save the Mountain Dew.
We cannot have the Mountain Dew, Diet Mountain Dew, the best, freeze on us. Leaving fluids in your RV. So changing your diesel fluid from a summer blend into a winter blend, or you can add an additive to it, because they say it's going to become gelled fuel if you leave it in there and you don't do anything with your RV all winter. Change out your windshield fluid too if you just have water in there, because it can crack.
Yeah, a lot of people just put water in their windshield thing, and that is not a good idea because that can, those little tiny lines, that'll freeze and ruin your windshield system, or washer system. So I never could understand why people just fill it with water. Laziness, probably. Just people get
or
lazy.
not thinking about it, because there's a lot. This is kind of a checklist here as to go through, because there's a lot of items to remember. Another one they put on here is not covering your RV, because the sun can do just as much damage in the winter than it does in the summer.
Yeah, and the roof's the first thing to go on these things because of just abuse. It's out in the sun, it's in the cold, so we keep ours in a big garage barn kind of a thing.
But it still gets dirty. There's still dirt that comes in from it.
At least it's not getting beaten up by UV.
Yeah, or covering your tires. That's another big one for the winter. And really not embracing the cold weather. If you don't feel like, well, you got to winterize if you're in cold weather. What we do is we go ahead and use it. We use our RV most winters, and we just bring the pink antifreeze fluid with us, and we put it down the toilet. So we actually use the toilet and put it down the toilet. And I bring bottled water, and we have a little small heater that we use in the night time.
Yeah, it makes sense to use if you have a power pedestal you're plugged into, use their power and rather than your propane. And these little ceramic heaters are amazing. They work really well in these RVs, and just not to leave it alone and not pay attention to it. But if you're sleeping in there, boy, it keeps ours nice.
Yeah, and all your fluids that are inside, like your drinking water, because we bring drinking water with us, we just keep everything in the RV. So the heater that's going at night is keeping that water from freezing. So we never put anything in our outdoor bays that would freeze overnight. And they say also, while you're camping, and we can just kind of segue into some tips for camping, is any of those lines that you use outside, you're not going to be using your water line, of course, but your other lines, you can wrap them so they won't actually freeze themselves.
Put a little heat tape on them, even if you can kind of winterize it that way, too.
Yeah.
I remember doing that years ago with another RV.
Yeah.
When I was young and ambitious.
Yeah, and insulate all the lines. You can also, like wrap the sewer hose so it doesn't freeze, which that would be kind of gross, huh? Frozen sewer hose. Ew. Also, one of the things of winter camping that we don't have that much problems because our RV is quite insulated quite well, but you can put things over the window, check your seals and your caulking too to make sure they're all sealed before you go into winter camping. But you can use the insulation to go over your windows, your window film. And, speaking of Brandon, he has in the company that he has for our leisure travel van, a section that he cuts out that he sells that you can actually put up over your skylight. So none of the...
A lot of heat gets in there and a lot of heat gets out through the big skylights in these motorhomes. Ours has 3 pretty nice ones, and you can feel it just in the summer. Man, it gets hot. And he's got these things that he's made that they sell on their website that's really good. And They'll fit in. I think he's starting to get them so they'll fit in most motorhomes.
Yeah. And another thing we did is we blackened out our side front windows and then put a film on the front window for UV protection, but it also protects a bit of the heat and moisture coming in
Makes
the
a
winter
big
time.
difference.
Yeah.
Big difference.
Yeah, so I think your windows and anything that's open like that to the sunlight is a really important part to seal those, and even any vents that you have to seal those up for winter camping. Also, check on your campground scheduling. Not all campgrounds are open all winter. Some are. Most of them that are, they may have electric, they may not. Most of the ones we found do. However, they don't have any water, or sewer. A lot of them you have to go to a separate sewer area. In our area, our main sewer dump here in town is closed for the winter because it freezes here. So that's something you want to check before.
You actually also are kind of an RV sewer engineer now.
I am. My foot works really well. I do my
gloves.
best not to touch as much as I can. We've gotten both good at it. Like the two of us, we can do it fairly quickly.
Yeah, well, ours is pretty easy. We'll flip a switch.
I know. When we go to big campgrounds and we're dumping and there's other people that are pulling out their hoses and doing everything manually, they're kind of just looking at us like, God, I wish I had bought your rig. Right? I mean, they're just going, I'm hating what I'm doing right now.
Oh, for those of you who are naive and don't know what we're talking about, some of these RVs just have a big old hose you just put down a sewer hole and then pull a valve and let it dump. Ours is automated. You just take the hose out, plug it into the hole, flip a switch, and it does it for you. The most work we do is just put the hose back in the cubby hole where it goes.
Yeah. Another thing you can do is head south, and you don't even have to worry about
Exactly.
it.
Exactly.
Drive careful too in the winter. You have a lot, especially this hub season of fall. Sometimes you can get a little ice that's forming or little oil spots and black spots, and just check your weather apps before you go. Our first RV experience, our long trip when we first got going, we took a 3-week trip just to get out of here, and we just got our RV, and we got it in December. So we're like, we're going to use this thing, and we didn't check all the weather. We checked where we were going, which was 2 days away, but we didn't check on the way. We learned
about weather apps. Man, we took off with one of the worst winter storms of the year over the most treacherous place we could have been, which is Central Nevada and Donner Summit.
We did okay on the summit because we were just going over it. However, that first one, it was hailing, which we were like, we just got this RV. We had little chips of paint off. It was a bad experience.
Tested under fire.
Because we didn't check on our way down. So that's something to think about. This is a good one. To put blocks underneath your stabilizers, because if you're there for a period of time, it snows or the ground freezes, your stabilizers could actually freeze to the ground. I never thought about that, but that is something.
I never thought about that till you just now brought it up.
Yeah. They say, you can camp up to negative 20 degrees pretty safely. That's pretty darn cold, and their stabilizers can stick to the ground.
Huh. Didn't know that.
You might have
So does that mean you just suck your RV right to the ground?
I guess. Or you just wait to get going. We're going to wait till it gets 1 o'clock, till it gets warm enough so we can head out of here.
We have power stabilizers, so if we flip the switch to bring them up and they're frozen to the ground, I wonder if it'll blow our tires. I got to be thinking about that one.
All right. Your propane refrigerator. It's gas, ammonia, distilled water, and sodium carbonate, all under 200 psi of pressure.
That's a bomb.
Yeah. So when the outside drops below 20 degrees Fahrenheit, this liquid could actually turn to gel. So it's good to plug the refrigerator system in and make sure it's running and keep it running to keep some heat. You can also, on the outside, you can duct tape and you can insulate the outside, which I never thought about that for your refrigerator system. But if you're going in really cold weather,
You're talking so the air doesn't get into the refrigerator vents.
Yes, and freeze the refrigerator. So you can actually take that. I'm not sure how long that would
We're
be
not going to be doing
for.
that.
No. You know what we do is we go out for a couple of days, and if it gets too cold, we come home.
That's right. And we run to the garage.
That's the safe way to do it. Also, when it's snowing and there's ice and you have your awnings out, clean the snow and the ice. And you may want to just put some lubricant on the awnings to make sure that they can go in and out. Make sure the lubricant doesn't have water in it, of course. And your side gadgets, make sure those are lubed really well.
I'll tell you, just as a side note on those awnings, I don't know how many of you that own RVs that have a power awning on it, but if you let that awning go in when it's wet, man, that's going to cause a lot of problems. And we did that on ours when we first got it. And I didn't realize this, but that mold, it actually causes it to start sticking, and it can create a mess for that awning. So make sure it's dry. And if it isn't dry when you roll it up, roll it out in the sun. Make sure it gets dry. So those awnings, and also the awning, the cover that goes over the slide on some of these, we have that as well. Make sure they're dry and they're not mildewing in there, because that just accelerates problems for you.
Yeah, and I would get the snow and ice off of it before you roll them in. I would also make sure your awnings are in at night.
Absolutely.
Right, because, that 4 a.m. time is when the ice really seems to set on there, and you may have not be able to get them in before that.
Yeah, that's true. So, and also when the wind's blowing. And you leave your RV, get those awnings. We've seen a lot of people with their awning on the neighbor's little RV because they didn't bring it in. Ours is automatic. If the wind blows, it'll bring itself in, but I don't trust that all the time either.
Yeah. So I have a list of some emergency items that if you're going to go winter RVing, be prepared. Be prepared for the worst and have the items with you. So here they are. Tire chains if you require them. It depends on your rig. Weather band radio. That's good to have at any time. We always carry one with us all the time. Extra blankets, warm clothing, a sleeping bag that is rated for 0-degree temperatures. That's always nice to have if you get cold at night too. You can grab that and throw it over the bed at night. 5 gallons of drinking water in heated storage spaces, or like we do inside the rig. A white gas camping stove, which doesn't require propane. Gas-powered generator. Extra propane tanks. This was a good one. A blow dryer to defrost pipes and tanks. Who brings a blow dryer anymore?
The only blow dryer you have is me.
Yeah. Made me go up on that one. Okay, so emergency GPS system, some extra food, solar, let's get this out today, charging panels that are good for recharging house batteries, and this is a good one too, and we always do this, have cash, some extra cash on hand. We always keep 1s, 5s, 10s, and 20s with us, no matter what, because we'll get to these campgrounds and it will be cash only. And if you don't have cash, they don't take checks, they don't take credit cards, and there's nobody to talk to.
That's true. Yeah.
And quarters. I always keep a little thing of quarters just in case we want to go and do some laundry. And they eat the thing. We've had that before where the shop is closed or the place where you get change is broken. So those are some emergency
Which is most
items.
of the time.
Yeah, sometimes. The newer campgrounds are doing really well, though. And that was something that was on our list, is to talk about how campgrounds have changed over time. Because they have. They've really upgraded their laundry rooms. Everything's automated. They have bigger machines.
Man, we've been to a couple of campgrounds that their laundromat was so nice. You wanted to live in there. I mean, they're brand new, shiny, sparkly.
Couches.
Yeah, they're nice. I couldn't believe it. So much nicer than the ones you find in town,
What I love about the laundromat is you can do all the laundry. I can do the bedding. I can do 2 or 3 loads all at one time. So I'm not waiting on one load to finish. They're all running, and then I can put them all in the dryer or hang them on the line, and they're done. I feel like it shortens the time frame of it. So as campgrounds are changing, they're getting more and more people that are staying full time. There's a lot of traveling nurses.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people traveling with trucks. I suppose in Florida, it's probably going to be a big thing this winter.
Husbands that have been thrown out of the house.
Yeah. We've got their work truck there. So the campgrounds are accommodating them. They're putting them in their own area with bigger parking lots so they can fit their trucks and their equipment. People that live there full time, they want to gather and get together. There's a sense of community. They've upgraded their laundry facilities for the hardcore worker with clothing and bedding and things of that sort. And they're putting in things like putt-putt golf and other glamping amenities, pools and things like that. So the full-timers that are there, maybe they're only there for a month or 6 months, but they're there full-time. They have a sense of community.
I tell you that one of the best campgrounds we've ever been to was a KOA campground in Petaluma, California. I'll tell you what, they have everything. The only thing they do not have right now is a roller coaster.
Yeah.
But they got a
They had animals.
petting zoo. They got donkeys. They've got chickens. They got turkeys. They've got the most beautiful grounds and well kept. Really a cool place. If you're ever out on the road, Highway 101, Petaluma, California, Sonoma County, you're going to have a reservation to get in there because it is so popular. They got cabins. They've got everything. Playgrounds, water slides. They got the whole thing going there. And they keep it nice.
Yeah, it's a kid's playground.
It's very cool. Yeah. And my son, when they were in California, that's where they always went. They'd go rent a cabin, stay there for the weekend. So it was like just being out in the forest because it looks like it. It's got a lot of trees and it's right on the highway.
It's nice.
Probably one of the best KOAs I've ever seen. Yeah.
So I don't know how much the KOAs are having permanent residents staying there. I haven't really done any research on that. I know some of the mom and pop campgrounds are because it's steady income for them. What they're also doing is they're partnering with their local community services, things like law enforcement, healthcare, religious organizations, employment, community food banks for those that are struggling, that may be living in their RV. So they have this partnership going. So if somebody is staying there full time, they have services. And what I've noticed in this last year too is some of them would give us a sheet of all the local restaurants and the local banks and items to do in the area, museums, and it was really well put together. Or they would send us to a link online that they had updated. They're also updating their Wi-Fi. This last year we haven't had any problems, except when we were boondocking, we had a little bit. However, for the most part, they're upgrading their Wi-Fi and they're separating those long-term residents from those of us that are just staying a couple nights or a week. And so that's working out really well too, because the long-term, again, want that sense of community.
That's very good. And, you know, when they separate them, you know, one of the problems I was having when we'd go to some of these campgrounds, it really looked trashy because a lot of people, I don't know how they haul all this crap around. But
well, you know, they're there and they go out shopping.
And you acquire stuff, you know, like you do at home. And then all of a sudden you look at your garage like, where'd all this stuff come from? We kind of got that going on right now.
Yeah, I agree. Yet with our rig, we only take what we require because that's all we can put in there. And I notice people that live full time, some of them, their rigs, they have a lot more stuff inside when you look inside them than those of us that have a home too. So it is a different animal. If you're living full time in an RV and you're living in a campground full time in an RV versus full time and traveling, because you're only going to bring what you can bring.
Yeah.
And that kind of segues us into the question that we got this week in our last section today is benefits of having each type of RV, because these people were wondering, well, what do I buy? What works best for me? I've been watching videos, but what do you think? So we thought we'd address that today. Yeah.
Well, one of the things, buy nothing, you know, and then you're still going to buy something. You know, if you can get the idea that less is more. And of course, depending on the size of rig you've got, we've found when we transferred, we're actually going to go full time from a home into an RV. It was a struggle to figure that out of what but then what we realized and is you just don't need hardly anything. A lot of this stuff that we got and that you buy and you have in your house and it's beautiful, but it's just you don't need it. And so with RVing, and once you transfer to this a little bit, even if you're doing it part-time like we do, you really realize how much crap you buy that you just don't need.
Buying now, I would suggest make sure I would get a private RV tech to come out and actually go through the entire rig. And I wouldn't buy the most expensive rig, and I wouldn't buy the cheapest rig. I'd buy something in the middle, especially if you're buying used, which there's more and more used ones for sale, is definitely check everything out and make sure that that's what you want. And, I read one thing that a guy gave some information and said, buy the cheapest thing first and then upgrade later. I don't think that's the right way, because it's going to fall apart and it's going to give you a horrible experience. You want the best experience right out of the chute. And your mechanics are the most important. So if you're going to buy a Class A, it's a big investment. And that's our first type of vehicle is a Class A. They have more power. They have a smoother ride. There's a lot more visibility because you're sitting up front with these huge front windows.
It's a beast.
It's really spacious inside. You can bring pretty much everything that you want to bring. It's very luxurious. And there's tons of basement storage, so you've got storage.
So back to what you were saying, though, one of the questions people ask us was, what's the pros and cons of all of these, right?
No, they asked about the different rigs, but we could go, I'm just telling you the pros. We could talk about the cons, too. Like the con of, one other thing of the Class A pro, is that it's a really good driving experience. It's one of the best things about having it. You've got this huge front windshield. You've got big, comfortable seats. You've got a lot of room. It's very spacious. It's very luxurious. And it's just a great driving vehicle. However, it's a hard driving vehicle because it is big and it is spacious.
And it's very limited where you can take it now.
Yes, and it's expensive.
What we're hearing from people who own them that are trading to C class or B class is they're so limited on where they can take their Class A's now, because a lot of the spaces are limited to 30 feet or 25 feet.
Yeah. Most of the Class A's we see are towing, usually a Jeep, or towing some type of vehicle with them, because they'll park their Class A and then they'll have their vehicle to run around. And people that have Class A's love their Class A's. So I would say go and test drive one. Go and see how you feel when you're in, and test drive them all. That would be my first recommendation, is to test drive and see what you like. But people that have Class A's love their Class A's. You are limited, though, and they are expensive. The fuel's expensive.
They're hard not to love. If you're a machine guy like me, I think they're cool. The only problem is getting them around. And just a lot of people that have never driven big trucks and buses, they'll drive into a service station. They can't get it out of there.
Yeah. Know what you're getting
They
into.
don't know what tail swing is, and turn into a train wreck. We've seen this happen on the road, over in Wyoming. Particularly around Star Valley Ranch area. There's a service station there. It's one of the only service stations, and they got these awnings and pumps, and these Class A's trying to pull in there. Oh, man.
And
Dangerous.
we were on our way to the Tetons, and there was a Class A that came in right in front of us and brushed a tree and took out their whole side of their RV, and it was a Class A.
Brand new one.
If you're going to get it, know what you're doing, get some experience, know that it's big, and know that it's pricey to run around in. If those aren't concerned, go for it. They're just big and luxurious, and you can bring whatever you want. Or you can go to a B plus, is what we have, which is more like a C, there's a lot of space. It's a pretty reasonable priced rig. There's lots of qualities. You can go from low price to pretty high price. The engine is really easy maintenance. Compared to a Class A, it's a little bit harder on the maintenance on Class A's. You can tow an extra vehicle with a B plus C. They're easy to drive. They hold more than 2 people. You can go anywhere with them under 30 feet. They hold their value. The diesels run 300,000 miles for the most part, and they're a little better in gas mileage or diesel mileage than you would get in a Class A.
Yeah, good old Class A's, good old 7 to 10 miles to the gallon max.
Yeah. I would say the downside of the C's and B pluses is you really don't have that much storage, especially on the outside. Ours, we're really lucky. We have a little bit more, but most of them, they don't have a lot of storage. And that's the biggest, somebody that has a Class A, they're going to go, oh, look at our kitchen. Isn't it great? Us in B pluses and C's are going to go, hey, we can go anywhere. Like the benefits are different.
Yeah, we don't have big kitchen.
And our fuel tank isn't as big, so we are stopping a few more times than a Class A. And then you find those people in the regular Bs, and those are like the little Sprinter vans. They don't have the slide outs. I would say in a B plus or C, the slide out is a really great value because it gives you a lot more room. With the Bs, the regular Sprinter vans, it really only holds 2 people. They're small,
pretty
they're
cramped,
versatile. You can get around anywhere, which is really cool. Really comfortable to ride in. It's like driving a van versus a truck, where most of the Bs are like B pluses and Cs are like that too. They're really easy to store in the winter. You can find spaces where the C's and the A's are a little harder to store, where B's you can store it pretty much anywhere. And you tend to get out more often on the road in the vans, because it's just a van, you hop in and you go. There's not a lot of prep work like you would in an A.
No, the rig we have, you can just drive it like a car and take it about anywhere, and we have used it as a car sometimes. And you don't really need to tow a vehicle with it because it takes us, 5 minutes to be ready to roll from being totally hooked up?
Yeah, we have a C, where the Bs are even smaller, which is the same. They're really small and quaint. And we have a friend that's a single gal. She has one and she loves it. The downside of the Bs is you really can only have 2 people, maybe a dog. They're small.
They're small, but they're agile. And they're fun. Hers is a 4-wheel drive. She's a mountain girl, so.
Yeah, and she doesn't live full-time in it. Although there's a lot of people that live full-time in their B vans.
Absolutely.
And it's the versatility. That's what we're finding with the Bs that most people have. And then the last is a towable. They're very versatile. They're effective. They cost less than most of the motorized vehicles because you don't have a motor on them.
Unless it's an Airstream.
Yeah.
They're expensive.
They last, though. They say they last for over 20 years, 200,000 miles. For the casual camper, the towables are great. And they're easy to store. That's something you think about in the winter. If you don't have a place at your residence to store it, or you have a residence and you're going to store, that's something to think about, either getting a smaller unit or getting a towable. And, for those of you that have been tent campers, this is a wonderful upgrade, to get off the ground and get into something. And you can tow it with just about any vehicle now, depending on the size, of course. And they're really low maintenance. You don't have the motor. So those are the 5 different categories that you can choose from.
There's pros and cons on all of them. I think we chose well for us. And I think the big thing is if you don't know what to do, but you want to get going on something like this, go rent one. There's a lot of motorhomes you can rent out there. Mm-hmm. Some of the ones you rent aren't really the ones you'd want to buy because they're the lowest end motorhome you can buy, but they'll get the job done for you, and you kind of get an idea what it's like. But there's some very nice Class C's and Class B pluses out there that are very luxurious. The one we have is built by Leisure Travel Van. And Tiffin builds some very luxurious Class B pluses and Bs and Cs. So
I think that's a great idea to rent something. You can rent towables. You can rent Class A's. You can rent Class C's, which is like the one we have, or you can rent a Class B. And I would think that'd be a great way to maybe rent each of them if you can't decide what you want, and then narrow it down to the 2, and then maybe rent it again before you take that big chunk and go out and buy one.
The motorhoming and the camping has really become a thing. And over COVID and all that, people got out there ready to get out there. So they absolutely stormed the RV dealerships, bought these things. Some people bought them, never driven one, never camped before, got in a little bit over their head. So some of them are selling them now, and you can probably find a pretty good deal. But the big thing is it still shows an increase. They're still building them. People are buying. So this camping thing is not going to go away. And I think a lot of people discovered it, find out how much fun it really is. Mm-hmm. And it is. It's different. It's a lot different than a lot of people think it is.
And you can tell it's not going away because they're building all kinds of new campgrounds. Even the government is adding, this year they've added several new campgrounds, especially on the East Coast. So it's fun. If you haven't done it before, go out and do it.
Here in
Definitely.
Idaho, they're even remodeling some of their rest stops now to be able to accommodate campers.
Yeah.
And we got that going on fairly close to us.
And same with the Loves, they're upgrading.
Yeah,
So
the
they're
truck
usually
stops.
a truck stop. So double check when you go in and make sure that you can stay there, whether it's not just a truck stop. Some of the rest stops are only for trucks.
Yeah.
So that's something to think about. So before we leave, we're almost out of time. I just wanted to show you our Frisky Biscuit sticker. If you don't have one on your vehicle, let us know. We'll
Put it up
send you
there
one.
close. There we
Can you
go.
see it? Yeah, it's really fun. And what's great about these is they're not stickers. They're actually just decals like you
Static.
are static to put on your window so they can peel off. You can put them wherever you want and they're not going to leave any residue. So they're saying that you are a road warrior. So let us know. We'll send you one. Or
And you
come
know,
find
that
us.
is something to be a Frisky Biscuit road warrior.
That's right.
And we even had somebody come up to us, say they saw us in the theater. That was kind of fun.
I know. We're famous for one person.
They didn't know what the ad was, but they said, we saw you, So that was cool. Hey, we want you to get in touch with us by commenting. Mm-hmm. We like those comments, and we appreciate those of you that have commented, the good, the bad, and the ugly of it. Most of them are good. And if there's something you want us to talk about or some genre that we're not talking about that you want us to discuss or know our opinion on it or what our thoughts are, please let us know. And they can contact us probably the easiest ways, through the website?
Yeah, through our website is one way, is www.frisky-biscuit.com. We also have all our merchandise on there. If you want a hat or want a t-shirt, you can get it on there. There's some really cool RV t-shirts, some really cool trucker t-shirts. We also have our links to all the podcasts there, to our YouTube channel too, which is Frisky Biscuit Podcast on YouTube, and you can comment there too. So we really appreciate you commenting and talking to us and letting us know what you want to hear.
I'm just curious, over this last year of camping and RVing, and we've talked a lot about this. We talked about trucks, talked about food trucks. This last year, what is your most memorable experience about camping?
Mine or theirs?
She done this, and I'm just asking her. Yeah, yours. What when you think about it this last year of our traveling, what's the most memorable thing? Other than the corn dogs.
Going over to the Tetons. You hear about them and I've seen pictures of them, but to actually see the Tetons, I was fascinated and drawn in by the mountains that I just couldn't stop looking at them and taking pictures. And I just felt really at home in the Tetons in Wyoming itself. And the other part is the anticipation of getting into the van and going. Like, we had planned this trip and waiting for the countdown. It was a month away, then it was 2 weeks away, and then actually getting in the van, and there was a sense of relaxation of, oh, we're on the road again.
Yeah. Also, and they're not asking us to do this. We're not affiliated with them. There's two websites and there's two channels that I really suggest. If all of you like traveling and want to know stuff, KYD just came out with a program last night on the national parks, and it was really good. And they showing some scenery of the falls, and I guess that's what it was, the fall leaves and
where to go in different areas.
Everywhere from Mount
Rainier. They do a great job.
They do a great job. The photography is beautiful. I got to compliment Mark. He's just got better and better and better. And so take a look at theirs, KYD. Keep Your Daydream. Look at that one. And then Russ at
RV or TV.
RV or TV. Russ, if you just want to relax and just have somebody sitting there kind of talking you through it, Russ does an amazing job with his photography and explaining a lot of the history of, you see these roadside, what do they call them, rest stops with the little signs out there, and we all ignore them. Most of us do.
What's cool about the two of them right now is Russ is all about back roads and small towns and places you don't see, and then KYD has been about these big national parks. So it's kind of the best of everything in America.
Yeah. And so I'd really encourage you to chime into those guys, and they're worthy of your time, and they're good people, both of them. And so other than that, that's all we have for this week. And we got a lot of stuff going on here. You might see the complexion of Frisky Biscuit change just a little bit and move into other genres. We've been asked and are entertaining doing some of that, talk about other stuff. So we may do that. And Lisa's getting busier and busier. So her availability is getting scarcer and scarcer.
So you might see more Gary.
Probably not. Not without her. And so till next time, here on Frisky Biscuit, we really appreciate all of you taking the time to watch us and to comment on us, and that have taken interest in this program and helping it grow. And we want to continue to let it grow. So help us by contacting us, tell other people about it, and just kind of lay low, kind of easy and casual, and we just kind of wing it as we go. Okay? Until next time,
Bye-bye.
We love all of you. We'll see you next week.
Gary says bye too.
Yes, I do. Really. Bye-bye.